Well, it's haul out day. Just pulled Tally Ho out of the water. They're power washing her. Everything's got a lot of slime on it. Considering how many days I was sailing and hopefully brushing that stuff off, a lot of crap on there. And of course, right as I'm motoring over here to get out, it starts raining a bit. Some guy over there in a big power boat was the 10 o'clock haul out, and of course he was late. And when I went to talk to him, he couldn't get one of his engines started. And I said, well, I'll go. And he goes, okay, you go. So I snuck in there really quick, but of course I got wet, so never fails. But it should be fine. They'll get us blocked up and things will look good, I hope. Well, haul out date is never the same. And usually never boring, that's for sure. The the good news is I got Tally Ho in the slings without any incident. The slings kind of point north and south. You enter from the south side, pointed north. And ideally you want either a north or a south wind so that you're not being blown sideways in that little place where they haul you out. The well, they call it. So the winds, well, make a long story short, I was supposed to go out at 11 o'clock. There was a 10 o'clock scheduled, a big power boat. That guy was late for various reasons. Turns out he couldn't get one of his two engines started. Hold on, I'm going to zip past my boat here. He couldn't get his engine started. He hadn't pumped out yet, his holding tank, so he still wanted to go over to the fuel dock and pump out. And it's like, well, time's a wasting. And I'm watching the weather look like it's threatening from the west. And I said, well, okay, how long are you going to be? I don't know, can't get the engine started. He goes, why don't you go first? I guess I need to put my seatbelt on, or we're going to hear that all the way to the... So I ran over and told the marina yard guys that the guy wanted me to go in first, and I didn't love it because, partially because they had to change a little bit of stuff on where we were gonna sit the boat and all that kind of stuff. But they agreed to do it, and that was all good. So I got on Tally Ho as quickly as I could and started making my way to the well. And while I am just kind of turning a big circle waiting, it started to rain. So I got the boat in the well without any incident. The winds were not very strong, even though they were a little bit of a cross breeze. It was very light. And I got Tally Ho in the slings, and so now I've got my car here with all kinds of gear in it, winter cover, a ladder, extension cords, stuff like that I'm going to use to get the boat ready for storage. And the guys are bringing her around. We'll see where they're going to park it, and we'll go from there. So we'll have more when the boat shows up. Well, here she comes in all her glory. Like I said, that machine doesn't move very fast, but she does the trick. Handles Tally Ho very easy. She's pretty light. Thing weighs, or that thing can lift 50 tons apparently. 12.5 tons on each crane thing. They're gonna put me to work here to help out a little bit, so I'm gonna put the camera down for a little bit and try to give them a hand. All right, so Tally Ho is on the hard. Boy, they really got her nose up in the air tall this time. Part of the reason they put the nose up high is because the drains for the cockpit are in the back, so this way the water runs down there. But I cover the boat with a canvas tarp, so we don't really need all that, but oh well, won't hurt anything. So I've got a little power cord hooked up. I've got a little bit of a cheater thing in there that allows me to take the normal 30 amp outlet where the big heavy cable goes and instead plug in just a regular 110 extension cord into it. So I'm not running anything heavy, no water heater or anything, but I can keep the battery charger on while I'm here and use it for whatever I need to, and then she gets shut off and everything will be fine. So we got that hooked up. Next steps, I think we'll winterize the engine. That's pretty easy. We'll get the fenders and lines all stowed. The big question is whether or not I try to get the cover on today or not. It's good from a low wind standpoint, but everything is wet, so I need to think about that a little bit. So we'll have a bit more later. All right, to winterize the engine, the way I do it, there's a couple ways I could do it, but the best way probably is to disconnect this hose that goes from my strainer into the engine water pump. So I've disconnected that. This hose happens to be long enough that I can shove it right in a gallon jug of antifreeze. Hose clamps off so I don't lose them in the bucket. All right, so the first one's in the bucket. I've got a second jug ready to go because I like to put 2 gallons through the engine if I'm gonna winterize anything. I don't want to freeze the block on the engine. So 2 gallons. Now what I have to do is I have to run up to the cockpit and I have to start the engine, and then I run back down here and I watch it drain, and then when that one's empty I'll switch the hose to that one, let it run, and then I can kill the engine from right here. So I can stall the engine out from down here. So let's go get the engine started. And oh yeah, I turn that battery switch off. I need to turn it back on so we can start the engine. Well, it was very soggy earlier. It's not raining right this minute, so that's good at least, but everything is kind of soggy, including me. All right, so we turn this on. We should have a tone. We do. We start the engine. Shouldn't have to be idling very hard. Now we're watching down there, pink stuff will start coming out, but we're going to go down below instead and get ready to switch the jug of antifreeze. So look, it's already pretty much empty. Put in the second one. go down. And I've killed the engine with the fuel cutoff. Okay, so that tone you hear is normal. It's supposed to do that, so you know if your engine dies for some reason. So we turn it off, take the key out. Engine is winterized. So now if we look down, you'll see a lot of pink antifreeze down there on the ground. This is non-toxic antifreeze, so it's not like the stuff you put in your car radiator. This is non-toxic stuff. All right, so that's done. Okay, now that we've got the engine itself winterized, and I've got the hose clamps back on the hose, then the last thing I'm going to do, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, I've opened the through hulls for both of these intakes, so they're both open now. And then I'm going to pour some antifreeze in both of these. Okay. Now the engine one isn't dry. That one, if you remember, I sucked all the water out with a shop vac. So this one has got water in it. But what I think will happen is as I pour this in, it'll displace the water, or at least mix with it, and it'll overflow outside because this hose has a little bit of a rise in it, so it won't go up all the way. All right, that ought to be good. All right, so the engine, the toilet, the potable water, everything has been winterized now. I'm going to leave the through hulls open here. But we'll close these just the same. Okay, I think we're in pretty good shape. Get that last one on. And I think we're done with the engine and systems. Everything other than the propeller. We still got to grease the propeller to get the water out of it, but this ought to take care of all that stuff. And we'll dump a little bit of water in or antifreeze in the bilge, and then we should be good to go. And so the bilge is relatively dry, so that's good. But like I said, I have gotten some water in here before from somewhere, I don't know where. So I'm just going to take all my half-empty jugs and dump them in there. And if I wanted to, I could try to pump the bilge pump, but I don't think that's really going to do much good. I got one more half jug, so we might as well, for good measure, put that in there. Maybe we'll try to run the bilge pump and the manual pump, although don't think that either one's going to pick up too much. I have used the manual bilge pump this year. When I had that air conditioner running, I would, while I was under sail, I would just test out the Whaler manual bilge pump and pump it for a little bit, and it was taking some stuff out, so that was good. I think for now I'll hit the automatic bilge pump first. Apparently it's not going to take out much, but if it pushes a little bit of that to the through the pump, that's good. And then it flows back in here usually quite a bit, so I think that should be fine. And outside we can kind of pump the manual bilge pump a little bit. Again, I don't know that it'll suck anything out of there, but if it pulls it up a ways into the hoses, that's probably good. That exits the boat down here somewhere, underneath the boat a little bit. If we see anything sprinkling on the ground, we'll know we pumped a little through anyway. Doesn't seem like there's enough in there to pump out, really. All right, well, oh, there I heard something, I think. Yep, I hear a little bit of spray. So we'll consider that to be good enough. All right, next we're going to take a few instruments out. We're taking the compass off this year. Every year I get an air bubble in there when it gets cold, so I'm going to take it off and store it at home and see if that solves the problem. Chart plotter is going to come off. We're going to stow all the lines and fenders that are around the boat, and let's get that done next. Yeah, when you look at her from the side, you can see just how high they have her nose. Oh well, she'll shed water that way, I suppose, pretty easily. So I've got most everything up top put away. I took the chart plotter and the compass out, put those in the car. I think my next step is I'm gonna do something with this propeller. Winterize it by greasing it and see if I can clean some of the scum off. Although I didn't bring a cleaner for it, so we'll see. Should have done it when it was still wet. It was slimy. I bet it's dried now. Yeah, the marina guys didn't do a great job of power washing, unfortunately. I got some of it off, but there's a lot of crud on the bottom. And I'm supposed to do bottom paint next spring, so this will be a cleanup job for sure. Oh well. So on the propeller, I tried wiping the blades off, but they're not much is coming off of these. So what we have to do with the propeller is we have to grease these zerks in here. And what that does is it forces any water out of the propeller cavity, so it doesn't freeze and crack the body of the propeller. That would be our worst case scenario, really. So I've got a kit here of stuff that we use for that. All compliments of the folks at PYI who made the propeller. So in here, some Allen wrenches and some a grease zerk in here that we screw in temporarily into these various grease fitting areas. We squeeze in a bunch of this 1030 AA Lubriplate and watch for it to ooze out in different places, and we're all good. So I'll get it set up and show you. So as I am squeezing grease in, you can see the water driplets coming out of different parts of the propeller. So this is the goal, to drive out all the water. And then I'm gonna move to another fitting. All right, so the grease fittings have all been jammed full of grease. Hopefully that takes care of that. There is one other way to do it, and I did this once kind of by accident. Was if you take off the cone zinc here and you take off the nut that holds the propeller on the shaft, you can pull the body, the big outside of this thing off, and the only thing that stays on the shaft is like the inner something or other, I don't know what they call it, but the only problem with that is putting it back together can be a little bit of a pain, like doing that in the spring. And you need a lot more grease because you've pretty much cleaned out all the grease at that point. So I don't think I'm going to do that. We'll try this today, and I think it should be fine. So it comes in 3 sections that you put up on the top of the boat. It utilizes the boom for support, and then up on the front it uses a halyard for some support. It goes down to the tow rail, so under the lifelines. It does not go over the lifelines. Down to the tow rail, and then it gets tied under, you know, under the boat. It's a bit of a project to get it on, but since the wind's not blowing hard right now and the sun's coming out a little bit, I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get the cover on. If I find some time to give an update, I will. Almost out of battery power though, so I'm going to get cracking and see how much I can get done. But you know what, we can play some tunes while we're working. So here's the 3 sections. This is the middle one, the bow, and that's the stern. There's a few things I need to get ready, but we start with the bow and kind of make our way back. And since we have shore power, I believe I can turn on the stereo. And the only reason shore power is important is so we don't run the battery down. And I know I'll get in trouble if I play music on my video, so I will just get playing and not let you listen to it, I suppose. All right, more once we get the cover on. We're making a pretty good time. It's just been about an hour or less since I started putting the cover on. There's a few things that you know, wear and tear things on this cover. That a couple of zippers are kind of bad and a couple are broken. That one right up there by the mast, I actually stitch it together, the 2 halves together. I sewed a tab on either half so I can kind of stitch them together to keep the weight off the zipper, because it does pop loose quite often. Well, she's not great. I got to do some tweaking here, but you get an idea what the cover looks like. I'm gonna have to get some more rope. I don't have enough. I took out all the old stuff last year. It was pretty gnarly and nasty. Well, we are back, second day after hauling out, and we got a couple of projects we're gonna have to work on today. 2 things in particular. One, we're gonna finish the winter cover tie down. I ran out of rope yesterday, so we're gonna do that. And an important one is to rebed this main hatch. So the reason we need to rebed this hatch, other than the fact that it's leaking, which I didn't know before, is that this recessed area here normally drains out that way, and so I don't have standing water in here, and that's why I haven't noticed the leak. Well, because of the way we have the boat nose up here in the parking lot, any water that ends up anywhere in front of the hatch is going to flow into this recessed area and just puddle there, and that's why we had a leak yesterday. Now with the cover on, we'll get significantly less water in here, but there's still the chance that we'll end up with water in here. So it needs to be done anyway, so I'm going to try to rebed this. Unfortunately, the hatch won't open all the way, and I won't be able to get to the screws in the back, I don't think, without removing my rigid boom vang. So this is going to have to come down and get pushed out of the way. But that's the project, so let's get started on it. Okay, we got the vang out of the way. That went easier than I thought. And now to take out all these screws. These are just screws. They are not through bolted through the cabin top, as far as I remember. So when I rebed this the last time, and I have rebed it once, I used butyl tape, and it wasn't the best quality butyl tape to begin with. It's very stiff, and it was hard to get it to compress. And 2, really this type of joint where it's a screw and not a through bolt, where you can get a lot of compression on it, is probably not the best application for butyl tape. I use butyl tape in other areas, like that cleat down there. That's bed with butyl tape, but I can get a lot of compression on that, and it works really well. This hatch, unfortunately, is not through bolted, and it was just very difficult to get the butyl tape to completely compress and seal. So today we're going to do it with caulk instead. Well, it's pretty easy to get the hatch out since it really wasn't sealed all that well. So we're going to clean up the outer track. We'll put some painter's tape down to kind of limit any overflow when we start clamping this down. Next up, I've got to clean all the old butyl out of this part. That'll be a fun challenge, no doubt. We'll have more later. Okay, we've got everything kind of cleaned up, and the area around the hatch is masked off. All right, so we got the caulk on. I put a good bead all the way around. Okay, so it's been about 15 or 20 minutes. I just tested the caulk, and it's starting to set up enough. I think it's a good time to lift the hatch in place and set it down in there. So without further ado, I'm going to put the camera on a stand. You can see at least part of it while I try to lift this in place without making a huge mess. So I have the hatch latched closed so I can hold the top of it. Goes on this way. That should do that, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that sit for maybe we'll just go ahead and squeeze it out. I want to make sure that it gets really sealed. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put all the screws in next. And then we'll do a little cleanup later, but I think we'll be about done. We'll see if we get some squeeze out all along the edge there. These corners are the trickiest parts to seal. So I'll put a little extra effort into getting those screws in tight. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I think if you watch me put these screws in, we're getting some good squeeze out all around. So I think this will work great. And then all we have to do at the very end is we're going to trim that caulking and pull the tape up, and it should be a nice professional job. I think it'll work fine. All right, so one of the last things we're going to do to Tally Ho today in preparation of her winter sleep is to disconnect the negative off our battery. So remember, we're only using our lead acid starter battery right now. I do have the house load hooked up to it so we can have lights and radio on, but we're going to disconnect the ground cable, and that should kill off any power flow or parasitic load. So that is one of the very last things we're going to have to do, is disconnect the negative terminal. My lithium ion phosphate batteries are at home right now, although I'm sure I'll have an episode about it sooner or later, where I talk about the fact that the battery capacity is nowhere near the advertised amount. So I am a bit pissed, I guess, with HumSync. I've written to them and asked them to refund my money. We'll see if they do that or not. I'm not sure. Alright, so battery charger's off. It's kind of nice to be able to run the battery charger when I'm here, just to keep that lead acid battery, charged up. Now the only reason that light's on is that's 110 shore power, and I'm getting ready to pull the power cord. So this is really the last thing we were going to do to get Tally Ho ready for her long winter's nap. So I got the cover on as well as I can. The cover was never exactly right. It's a little short on some of the edges, a little long on other edges, so it's a little bit not quite perfectly sized. I did send it back to them once because they put stanchion holes in the wrong place and extra stanchion collars that didn't have a stanchion there. I mean, it was a little bit screwed up. So I sent it back, and it's still not 100%, but it's pretty close. And a lot of it depends on the boom and how high the boom is. So what I like to do is I kind of lowered the boom to get the cover tied on, and then raised it up tight with the topping lift to kind of stretch the canvas thing out a little bit. I really do like it, you know, mostly tight. Rain, snow, ice, everything sheds off a lot better. So I think that is about it. I've got a few things to take here. Turn off the outlets and the shore power master. It's kind of like Aquarius when the Apollo 13 astronauts signed off Aquarius after it saved their lives and got them most of the way home. That's what it always feels like when I shut down Tally-Ho and turn off the power and get ready to walk out. All right, so you can see I've got the cover on, as stretched as tight as I can. I've kind of zipped up the front there around the furling drum. Yeah, I guess this is it. We'll say I'm glad I didn't haul out today, to be honest. It is, although the sun's shining, it is quite breezy, and it's a cross breeze for the travel lift well, so it would have been a booger to do by myself and not hit anything and all that kind of stuff. So I've done it in a strong cross breeze, and it is not fun. So I'm kind of glad I got it out of the way yesterday, even though I got soaking wet. So. All right, well, I'd say Tally-Ho is going to sign off for the winter. Don't plan to be back here until June. Hopefully early June. It's kind of late for getting a boat in, but June is what our anticipated return is. So with that, I'll say Tally-Ho out.